Hi everyone, welcome back to part 2 of our trash build of the oil refinery slash factory. In this video we're going to be showing you all the finishing touches and how to get this weathered look. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so the paint that I'm using for this is Deco Art. Got these off Amazon, they're not too expensive. That's the silver that I'm using, and then that's going to be the copper. Just get yourself a little plastic tub, mix your paint up with a bit of water so it's nice and thin, not too thick, and then just choose where you want to apply. This is a nice bright silver, but at the end I'm going to wash all this down and add some weathering and things like that. Just get a nice thin cover, and then just pick out all your areas you want silver and go around and paint them up. So I'm going to get all my silver done and then we'll come back. Okay, so we've done all the metal work now with silver and copper. If you have a look, I'll turn that around a little bit for you so you can see everything that we've done. So right now the metal work looks really bright and does stand out, but not to worry too much, because once the next stage we're going to get that all washed down and that will dull it back down. So yeah, okay, on to the next stage. Okay, so what I'm about to do now is just mix up the dark brown with some lighter greys to create a lighter brown. I'm just going to dry brush all this groundwork, and then I'm not going to pay too much attention to it because we are going to put a grass flock over the top, but for any bits that do show through I just want a little bit of detail just to make sure it looks nice on the battlefield. So I'm going to do that now and then we'll come back. Okay, so I've mixed up a lighter brown now, just using household emulsion paint. Just get some on your brush, wipe off all the excess either on a piece of tissue or a piece of card. So we're going to just be dry brushing. It's an easy technique just to pick up the raised areas. Then once you've got most of it off the brush, just run it over the top of the mud so you pick up the raised areas. Again, I'm not looking for an amazing dry brush here because I am covering most of this in grass flock, so it's just got to be roughly done just to create some texture and depth to the mud. I'll get all that finished and then we'll come back. Okay, so all the groundwork's been dry brushed now. The next stage is to apply a wash over all the metal areas that we've got. So I've got my homemade terrain wash, and I'm just going to be using this to wash all the metal. I'm going to see how that looks. It might need 1 or 2 coats. So I'm just going to use a large brush for the big areas. So just soak your brush and then just apply to all the areas where you want the wash, which will run into the shades, and this will help tone down that brightness and make it look weathered and worn. Okay, so we've washed all the metal work now and give it a little dry brush just to bring it back up to the top areas have got a shine. And now what we're going to do is start to add the weathering to the building. So for weathering I'm just using some burnt umber, and I'm just going to be stippling it along the base where the building meets the floor, just so it looks like there's mud. So you can use an old knackered brush for this, don't use one of your good brushes for your mini, and then you just want to go around and just tap it onto the building just so it adds, so it looks like there's a bit of mud that's grimed up off the floor and onto the building. You haven't got to be neat with this, you don't want to create a pattern, it just needs to be random and seem natural. You won't really be able to see much, but it should just add that nice finishing effect to the building. So I'm going to go around and do all of that, and then we'll come back and we'll add some battle damage to the actual structure. Okay, so for battle damage what we're going to do is we're going to use a gunmetal and just put a little bit onto a piece of card or whatever you mix your paint on. You don't need to mix any water with this because you just want it thick so it dries nice. Get some on your brush and then just pick on areas where you want to imagine that like things are going to have been chipped away. So like corners, a nice place to hit. Just adding little bits of battle damage, and then what we do after the silver dries, we come back in with typhus corrosion, and we add a bit of that over the top so it looks like rusting. This just helps break up the texture of the building so it doesn't just look flat and bland. So just pick some random spots out, just go around and add that on. I'll get all that done and then we'll come back and look at adding the typhus corrosion. Okay, so what we're looking to do now, where all the silver little chips are, I'm going to use the typhus corrosion, which will dry like a rust, and just dab over the top so it adds like a layer of rusty texture into the silver bits. It's like the paint's flaked off the building, and then that'll just create that battle damaged look for you. You don't have to hit every silver piece if you don't want to. It's up to you. You can, on the desired effect of how much weathering you want on the building. But I'm just going to go around and finish all them off. Then we'll have a look. Okay, so when we've gone round and done the weathering over the silver with the typhus corrosion, it was standing out a little bit too much from the contrast of the grey building. So what I've done is used the burnt umber and the same brush, and then just gone back round and just dirtied up the surface of the building so it looks and blends the typhus corrosion in a little bit more. And then just round where the pipes join the building, just add a bit of dirt and grime just so it looks a bit more realistic, and it helps tone down the effect of the battle damage, and everything just blends together a little bit more nicely. So yeah, I think we're happy with that now, just a little bit more, and we're going to just leave it at that. Okay, so I'll turn it around so you can see the whole of the building looking battle damaged. I'm going to stick some like foliage on the building and reeds and things like that so it's like overgrown. So right, the next stage that we're going to do now is paint the barrels red, and then we're going to start to do the groundwork. So right, be right back. Okay, so with all the weathering done, and I've painted up the barrels now with just red, and then a wash of black, and then a dry brush of a bright red. What we're going to look to do is fill this little well here with some epoxy resin, and we're going to mix in a bit of green ink so it gives that like water, like toxic effect, and hopefully we're going to flow a little bit over the side. So this is just from the pound shop, and you just snap off the lid, which isn't easy to do, and then you just inject into a pot. So both halves have to mix. And the stuff does stink, and then you just mix it with your tongue suppressor, and then you want to add a little bit of the colour that you want to turn it. You don't need much at all. So that's just 2 little drops, and just mix that in. So we've added the resin now to the little well. We wanted it to appear like sun's running over the edge, so that's why we've had it on the side. We are going to have to get a few more resins to fill that up to the top if you want to do that, and that is what we're looking for. We want to make that feel like it's a full well of like that toxic like goo. So yeah, when we've got more resin, we'll come back and finish that off another day. Next stage now is to add the grass onto the mud, so we're going to get that set up and we'll come back and show you how we're doing that. So for the next stage, we're going to be applying the grass flock. So you're going to want to put some PVA into a tub, mix a little bit of water into that PVA just so it flows around, not too much. I just dip my brush in the water and then just mix it in. And then we'll go around everywhere that you want grass. So if you don't want much, just put it in a few places. If you want it to be heavy grass, then get a good spread around. We're going for the heavy grass look, so I'm going to apply this pretty much all over the mud. Take whatever flock you're using and then just drop it everywhere that you've got glue. And then what that will do is that will stick to the PVA, and then when you've got enough on, you just stand it up, shake it off, and then you'll catch all the bits that haven't stuck, and then you can reuse them and put them back in your bag. You're going to need a couple of different coloured tones in flock, otherwise it won't blend in. So this is just my first one that's going on, and then I've got a lighter and a darker flock to go over the top. So that's all the groundwork flock that's gone on. What I'm going to do now is use these like a darker mud colour to put a path in from the front door. So just get your PVA glue, mark how you'd want the path to look, as if people have walked on it and trod it in and there's no grass, and then you're just going to sprinkle that in the same way over the top, and then that should create that muddy looking little path from the main door out of the building again, and it just adds another tone and another colour. Also, what we're going to do here now is add some vines to the building and the pipe work, just using PVA, and just stick them on, and then we're going to put little bits of the same ground cover flock, that's the darker one, onto the building so it looks like moss and it's overgrown. So, and then we'll add some clump foliage, and that'll be it done and complete. Okay, I'm going to get that done and we'll come back. So that's everything, all the finishing touches done. So we've used reindeer moss, lichen and clump foliage on the base. Put a load of vines on there so it looks really weathered and out of use. Then we've added like a transfer of the Empire symbol just to make it fit in with Star Wars Legion. If I just turn that round so you can get a look. So I'm really happy with how that's turned out now. All the finishing touches is on there. So for a trash build, I think it looks pretty good. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed this trash build. We've certainly learned a lot and had a lot of fun building this project. If you have enjoyed the video, then remember to leave us a like. And if you want to see more from the guys at Crafty Terrain, then remember to subscribe and click that bell. Hope you have a great day.